We are live now on the community, live on YouTube. I have 8:31, a minute late. Sorry, I got caught up answering a TikTok question. So let's go ahead and let's jump into this here. Again, my disclaimer here is I'm recording this on YouTube. This is for our community. If you're part of a community, you already know that. If you're on TikTok, this is where this goes. If you go to botjock.com, you go into, oh, it kicked me out. You go into community events and then it'll pop up basically displaying that. So that's all part of that. Or you could just go directly to YouTube. That works as well. So let's talk about our day yesterday, and then we'll get a little deeper. So let me go to the 2 minute. And we do have the regular trading hours, so let's talk about the regular trading hours. So the market open was right here. And so if you guys remember, when I did the huddle yesterday, my biggest concern, honestly, was the fact that we were beginning to round right here, right? And so the primary concern that I told y'all to watch, and I hope that some of you guys made some really good bag. It was a really good day yesterday for us. The primary concern was you had this kind of peak on this side here. You had your higher high, a hard rejection, and then this right here. What I had mentioned is we may come up to retest the previous side, but it was looking very bearish for a fall. And so what I mentioned is if we can't even get above the 21 SMA to even get to this side, it's going to look really bearish and it's going to fall. And that's what happened, right? We collapsed. So right at market open, we dropped from 448 all the way down to 446. I mean, within that hour, right? The hour of market open. So that's a pretty substantial drop. Now in the room, as we were following this, the biggest thing I was watching was the 200 EMA. So I had anticipated we would get a bounce off the 200 EMA, but we did actually break a little bit below it before we got that bounce. So we still got that bounce from 443.90 all the way to 446.40. That's a pretty hefty bounce. But you can see in the pre-market, it's not really holding. And so if you look at the 1 hour here, on the close of this candle at pretty much 445, it called another short. And you can see in the pre-market, that's playing out pretty well. So we don't typically trade the 2 hour, the 1 hour. We look at that for guidance. So let's go back to the 2 minute and just kind of show you how this played out and how the indicators did with it. So this was our market open right here. So we started the market open with the 5-0, a short call, right? Now, granted, the short call was at the market close. Now you can see about 350. So it was a great short call at market close. I know some people took the short on this, and so that ended up playing out absolutely perfect. Dropped all the way down. We did have some support lines here we were watching. We did end up taking, I took this call here, so I did get a nice profit off of this one. This was actually taken off the live trader. And then we were kind of watching originally, when we seen this formation kind of starting to play out. My thought was, okay, maybe we're going to double bottom here. So a lot of times what I do with that, and we were talking to the room, is when you get your rejection candle right here, right, which is what that is, and you get your very next candle, which is like right here, you're going to want to draw this line like that. And so what we were talking about in the room is as it was coming through and it rejected and then it rejected, and you see the oscillations kind of shrinking, right? That leads into like a squeeze. Like we always talk about squeeze, and squeeze is where the breakouts are. So if you notice, we had this one kind of like this, right? So we had our squeeze. We ended up on the lower side. We closed below the trend line, and it just collapsed from there. It just couldn't do it because you got to think about it from where we are on the EMAs. I mean, we were just way below the SMA, the 200 EMA. I mean, everything looked really, really bearish. And so as you can see, then as it continued down, we had our collapse. It came here. We did get this flip from blue to orange, which kind of tells us that it's still weak. Couldn't even make the 21 SMA, so it just continued to bleed down. all the way down. So I tried to break it here. We did get a blue flip, so it did get the flip right here. It did capture that little push north for a scalp. I didn't take that, but that's kind of how that played. We had a continued fall, and it did not call the long until here. So just a phenomenal long call at the end of the day, right? So 1 o'clock. So this long call played out really well. I mean, if you think about it from the overall day, right? We had the one short call here. This was from yesterday, and we talked about this in the room on it because you had bearish harmonics, so that one we did not take. But the short one had the bearish harmonics as well, so this was a good play. The long did not have the harmonics to support it, but it did have the order blocks and the zone tracker telling you that we were within support. So once we actually got this from the green, we got green on the divergence hunter, and then we got the long call, right? And then the moment you flip this 21 SMA, you know you got some room to ride it back up to the 200, which is exactly what it did before it collapsed again. And so that was kind of our day. It was a pretty easy read on the day. You can see even our indicators towards the end of the day started saying, hey, we got some bearish divergence popping up, and you can see where we are in the pre-market. So the indicators killed it, guys. I can't say enough on that. So I get a lot of pushback where people say, well, I could just get my indicators for free. And as I tell you guys always, if you're winning with your free ones, hey, more power to you. Keep on doing it. But for me, I do well with these. So, and they have a really, really good track record. So that was our day. So let's talk about where we're gonna go now. So I always like to convert this back to extended hours because I want to see what it did overnight, right? So let's go back to the 1 hour. I'm going to mute the harmonic one. We'll leave the Bollinger and the zone on just to give us kind of our range. So let's go back to the 1 hour. And if you look at this, right, you remember we talked about when you do the extended hours, it looks even more rounded top. So you kind of had a little push north, right, which was, remember we talked about this could be rounded top, potential inverted cup and handle, right? And so there's a chance. I would be super cautious taking your calls today because I would also caution you on the puts, and I'm going to give you the reason why here. And so you have your rounded top, you have your potential, little handle here, which we are at that neckline. So in theory, this should just collapse, right? Pretty much down to, and we could hit 438, right, by today. Now, the thing I would watch is, one, we do have the death cross on the 1 hour here on the extended hours. We are below this on the orange. So as long as we stay below this 21, I would not take a call. Do not take it, right? Just don't do it. Wait for this to pull back here, and then get a bounce off of it before it breaks that. Then you can take your call. The other way you would take your call is if we zoom out, you can see in here we had heavy resistance, right? So if by chance we reclaim this resistance as support, and we can mark a line, right? Because we don't have one there. So we'll mark that one. We'll take some of these other ones away because we don't necessarily need it. Yeah, we'll take that one away as well. And so I'm gonna mark that line. If I reclaim this as support, and I get above my 21 or my 200 on my 1 hour, right, which is it would need to get pretty high, right, 446 or so. Then I'm okay with taking those calls. But I would say anything above like 446.50. But for me, other than that, I'll probably look for the put because now when I say look for the put, I'm not just jumping into a put. I'm not saying market's gonna open and we're gonna just drop, right? We are oversold. We're sitting at 25, right? And so below 30 is oversold. And so as we sit here, market could open and we could just collapse down, hit this, and then find some support, and then we could just reclaim it, right? Kind of like how we had massive support through here, we had massive support through here. But there's also the other side, right? We might not quite be done with this handle. We did create a lower low here, but we could reclaim this yellow line on market open, give it enough steam to break, which would break this neckline. That could push us up, as high as 447, 440, 650, before it rejects back down. So we still stick to the rules. We stick to the indicators. You know, we want to trust what we see. We don't want to just jump into something, right? And so that's kind of the range. That's how we're going to play it likely today. So again, I'll probably go to the 2 minute. Let's see where we're at now. I like the 2 minute. 2 minute, 1 minute, 5 minutes, really what we scalp on. So let's see where we are. So we did get this long call here. We did get this short call here, and we're still in this short call. So, and you can see still a lot of bearish harmonics coming through here. So for me to take any kind of a call, right, we do have a little bit of bullish divergence right here, but it didn't really play out. It collapsed. Now, if you look at the grand scheme of things, if you pull back to here, and you take this, right, you have this as a low, and you have a lot lower low, but then you have this low is equal to this low. So it's starting to get some bullish divergence. I don't know if it's enough quite yet. So I'm not really thinking call. I need to see some serious support held before I would consider taking a call on it. In the meantime, I'm going to wait for some bounces, you know, like these little mini bounces, and we'll just scalp them on puts. So, but we are still, like, again, like I said, we are oversold, so you got to really watch for that bounce. So just be patient with it. So as far as the range goes today, you know, the big one to watch is 443.92. If we reclaim that, right, we're going up. If we continue to reject on that, we're going down. If we continue to reject on it, realistically, I could see us getting down to about 440.85, you know, to retest this support. Let me mute this one. To retest this support here. If we reclaim this 443.90 area, and we can break the 200 EMA on the 2 minute, I would imagine we can at least come up to retest this 446. So that's kind of the range that I'll be watching, and I'll be playing today. So I hope that helps you guys out on the SPY. So let's jump into the other ones, because I didn't really cover the other stocks because we were doing a deep dive on the zone tracker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these indicators muted, and I'm just going to, because remember we deleted our lines. So I'm just going to show you, it loves doing that to me on Apple. I'm going to show you how I box these in, right? So I'm going to do it super simple, super quick. We just want to look at a range. So for Apple, the first thing that sticks out to me, right, is you have this line here. So that would be your upper. You can take the line where we are now. It hasn't really made a bounce and it's falling, right? So that you don't know if this is your bottom yet. So I would need to go back. Now, if I go back, you can see if you take this wick here, you can almost pull that out like that, right, to give you kind of a bottom. So for Apple, we could see as low as 173 today. Yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much collapsed from the 189. But you got to also keep in mind on Apple, guys, we are like way oversold. I mean, it got down to like 13, 17. So I would look for, you know, if we have some continued pullback, we do have a lot of support within here, the 175, 177 range. So if we do break this, I would say 173 we'll likely get a bounce. Now, if we break this below, right, then the fall after that is likely to at least retest this 172, because you have a lot of support here and a ton of support here. So you could probably draw a line right there. So that's how I would play that. So now this is a pretty big fall, so it's hard to take something localized. You could probably go on like the 5 minute. This is how I would this is how I create my rules. I'm not gonna do this for every stock. I just want to teach you guys so you guys can do it for the other ones. So what I usually do is I'll take something like that, just a shorter, smaller trend line, right? And I won't take a call unless it breaks above that trend line, right? It's too risky for me. So if you think about it this way, if it were to range today throughout the day, around 178 or so would likely be where it would potentially pop. Now for my puts, I don't know that I like taking a put super close to this kind of support here. So I'm either going to let this fall and I'm going to take a call. I'm going to wait for a breakout and take a call, or I'm going to wait for a pump up and a rejection and take a put. So that's how you build your kind of your rules, right, for the day. which is what I do also for the live trader. So, and you can do this with each one that we do. So I had someone ask me about NVIDIA earlier. So what I was talking about in NVIDIA was similar, right? So you have your upper, we have our lower, we have tons of support within here. So we could take a line like that, and then this could be our, if you hit off here and hold support, right, you got plenty of room to take that call. If we break this and we hold resistance below this, then you're going to want to take that put, because there's still plenty of room to take that put. The real big breakout is going to be if you break this trend line, or if you break this trend line. That's going to be the breakout. So if you're looking for the big move, the big trade, you're going to want to wait for this these type of trend lines to break. But if you're scalping, right, that's kind of how I would look on that. So we talked briefly about NVIDIA. You can see where we had the short here. Let's see. Let's check the Bollingers. So Bollingers are red, so we're still looking bearish, and they're beginning to come in, right? So we may even disconsolidate here for a little bit, which is not ideal when you're in contracts, right? So if anybody's in a contract, just burning time. But we're still oversold still. So I mean, it could, you know, we have a lot of support within here. You can see our zone trackers picking it up, but we also have a death cross. We haven't had a death cross since back here around 439. So there's definitely some room to come down. This would be the key area I'd watch, though. Like I said, if we do break down further today, anywhere between 451 and 452, we could get a pretty nice bounce, just like we did here, So, but yeah, you guys, I use the same technique with everything that I'm trying to box in. So like we'll do Tesla one more, and then we'll jump over to Live Trader. So again, I do the same thing. I go to the 1 hour. If I can't see anything I don't like, then I will go to the daily. But typically you can find something on the 1 hour, right? So now we got an easy touch. So we got our top. Now I'm kind of, you see me tilt my head. I'm trying to find the bottom. And so I don't see anything I like. I mean, this right here is almost too upward, and we're already below it. So it's not really a good bottom. You could take, once upon a time, this one right here, right, would have been your line. And you can see it's a viable line because you have your explosion, you have your pump, your loss, it collapsed, it reclaimed, or tried to reclaim, rejected. The moment it broke it actually exploded, right? So it was a good line at one point, but it doesn't really help you for a bottom. So what you could do is you could potentially take this as your bottom. Yeah, because even if you took this one to this one, it's going to pull it more into that, right? So if I'm boxing in Tesla, I'm likely to do something like this for my box in. And then I'm looking for heavy support and resistance. So I like this line right about here. Reason why is we have a breakout into a new zone, a retest of support, a further breakout. We had our higher low cause another breakout. We did get a retest of support, which caused another breakup. Another retest of support, smaller oscillations. We lost support, tried to retest it, acted as resistance. Down we go. Resistance, right? And then it came through support. So this line is kind of like how that we have that 450, 150 line or whatever for the SPY. Like this is kind of like that for Tesla. This is a really strong line because what is acted not only as support tons of times, but it's acted as resistance. So if you're above it, there's a chance it could hold as support. But if you get below it, it's going to flip back to resistance, and that's where the breakout is going to happen. So I would watch this for Tesla 240-237. If we're above it on the bullish confirmation, ride that up, right? Play the call. But if we are below this, right, not only is that a very, very crucial line, but if we go to a higher time frame, you're likely having a form of like a double top here, right? So if you break that neckline, then it's just going to collapse back down to here. So that's kind of the range. If I'm below this, I'm taking puts. If I'm above this, I'm taking calls. I'm just waiting for the setup. So, and we can look at the harmonics. So the harmonics had, it called this long, called the short, called the long, and then now it's called this short. So, and let's see, gap fill. Yeah, you can see even with the visible range that we have embedded in here, there's not a lot of lot of volume right here, right? So if it happens to break this line, it's going to collapse down, right? And it holds. Try to find it around there. And Zone Tracker doesn't really have any kind of support to like 238 really. You can see tons of resistance up here. So let's take a look at quick this. So sometimes like I said, guys, I'll clear my indicators, and I go through and I set my ranges, you know, and then I look at what I want to see, and I have my idea of where I think we're going, and then I'll slowly bring on my indicators. If you're new, you know, and you are running 4 like this, I recommend just mute them, right? Just mute them like this, and as you want to look at each one, you can just mute it. Because sometimes people get a little intimidated on my screen because they say I have a lot going on, right? Because when I run my stuff, I do it like this. It looks super busy, and some people are like, you're nuts, but I know exactly what each indicator does, and I know what it looks like, and they all have very specific unique looks, and so I can see that and still know what I'm looking at. But if you're one that's new, right, then I recommend you use one at a time, and then just mute them for your confirmation, like that, right? Each one has their own unique value, right? So you can see like the gap fill, each time we've had a gap fill, it actually played out. We had gap fills both here and here, played out. We had a gap fill here. It almost played out, but hasn't quite completed this one, right? So we still have this one to complete. We still have this one to complete. And we don't really have much below, a little bit down here. So it plays out pretty well. So let's jump, it's 8:52. Let's talk briefly about the Dixie. Dixie's going cray-cray. So you can see, remember we talked about yesterday, part of what we were trying to channelize here is I said, you know, we had a run up, we had kind of a parallel look. It was not real pretty, but it almost to me looked kind of like a bullish flag possible, and you can see that played out actually pretty good. So we can delete these. The dollar's climbing, guys. I know that a lot of people were hopeful that it's going to crash, and it probably still will. But for right now, the dollar's getting some strength. So, you know, it's gone higher than, you know, truth be told, than what I had originally called or predicted or even thought it would. You know, but I mean, we can get all the way to this 105.93, because if you go to our 1 hour, we've actually created a higher high from here where we had our collapse down to the 99. So the next step right here is this one, which is a little higher. We'll pull it down to there. So like 105.88. If we, because we've broken this trend line, and if you guys remember where this trend line was, it wasn't super significant, but it was off of the daily, right? This was our top peak. I mean, we can't. There's nothing else for us to do higher trend line wise. That's our peak. So, you know, if we yeah, so you got peak to peak, comes down. I mean, we can try to pull out to the weekly, would be the only the next, you know, thing I would think of, right? Because I mean, we obviously had back here. Yeah, but even if you pull back here, right? I mean, it's, you can take that like that, we're above it, and so you can take that like that, but I mean, that's like 113, right? And I don't think that we're getting to that anytime soon. So there's just not a lot of viable options from where we go other than just normal support and resistance. So I would say next step, you know, 105.89. If we lose this area, 104.73, then it's going to come back down. It's important because if the dollar is going up, stocks are going down, right? But we have the inverse. Think about it. The dollar is on an absolute tear right now, and if you really think about it, you know, it's creating a pretty good gap to need a retest. Well, even on the tear that it's on, we're still 442.90. We haven't really like completely collapsed on the SPY. And so Once this starts to retrace, you're going to start to see that push back up on the SPY. So, it's just a healthy inverse pullback so far. So let's talk about Bitcoin right quick. So Bitcoin, you can see this is how we boxed it in yesterday, just kind of playing around with it. We'll just kind of trip these lines a little bit. So you can see we're still above it. If we break 25,582, the next stop I see is 24.8 right here. That'll collapse down to there. If it has any kind of momentum or bad news to come with it, I still have a low of 23. Somewhere in here, 22.8 to 23. Now, if you get anywhere within here, guys, I would be very ready to take those longs. I would not take shorts down there because this is going to be a pretty significant bounce in there. So good old Bitcoin. So I gotta stop. So we did end up taking a trade, guys. We took our continuation put. It doesn't show it on here because when we're in the room, I keep going in and saying, okay, we took our put. Let's go ahead and reset the settings. And then I reset the settings, and then it takes away the trade that I did. But we did take the put. I think it entered. So you can see I reset it right here. So I was kind of bummed a little bit. It was a good win, but it took it right here, and it came down like this, right? And then it came back up and it closed it right here. So it was a pretty good, in and out type win. I had wanted to allow it to take one more because we had actually called this bounce in the room, but I wanted to get a little bit of a better entry because every time you get a win, you want to be a little more picky on what you allowed after that. So although we kept saying it was going down in the room, I had moved my line up to 447.40, and it missed it by 9 cents. I think, 9 cents. I mean, I was like, so annoyed. 10 cents. And so the call was right? We did get this on some live trading, but as far as the live trader itself goes, I was 10 cents a little bit too passive. So I did not get any additional ones on that. But, the automation part of it, guys, the goal of live trader is not to get 10, 15, 20 trades a day. If you get 1 or 2 day trades a day and they're good trades, right? I mean, it's a 10 contract trade. That's all you need. As long as you're green, your target hit. But guess what I didn't have to do? I didn't have to stare at my chart all day. And I still took that trade. So in my eyes, it was a win. So we do have it on the extended hours because we want to, we need to double check our box now before we set this. So we do know roughly what our range is. We have all of these up here, which we don't necessarily need these higher ones anymore. So I'm going to delete these ones. All these orange ones were pre ones that I set anyways, so we'll delete all the orange ones. So we don't really need these yellow ones anymore either. So let's take a look and see where we can move these. We did the TA on the other one. We know that we might get a potential bounce somewhere here around 440. So let's look for a lower to try to find a potential bounce. Yeah, I mean, to me, I before we get real good support, like this, right? I mean, you're almost like 437, but that's a little low for where I want to set a range. So let me see if we could put this in here, 440.97. That's not a bad call entry, right? Because you have resistance, resistance, resistance. It broke it, retested, and then you had your explosion. Plus we have this line here, so by the time it actually gets to that, right, it's going to be somewhere in this area anyways. So we'll go ahead and Telegram channel, please. I actually don't have Telegram. If you wanted to come into the community, just go to botjok.com, botjok.com. So that's going to be my lower. Let's talk about the upper. So we're at 443, so my upper I'm going to probably put here. It's a little high, but that's okay. 446.36. So we'll use that for the larger time frames. So let's go to the 5 minute and let's see what we can find in here. So we have heavy resistance here. So this is actually a pretty pivotal spot that it's in right now. Yeah, so I'm gonna set up. Let's do our first call. I'm okay with taking a call if we get a bounce off of this. So we'll say like 441.50 would be my first call setup. So I didn't do that yesterday, so we are gonna do it today. Now keep in mind you have to do either one day. Saturday would be 2, Sunday 3, or 4 days. So it's 1 day or 4 day. I'm gonna do a 4 day just in case I want to let it go until tomorrow. If I do get stuck in anything, so we'll leave that time still the same. I'm gonna do one trade only, and we're gonna do 441.50, and this is on a call. Yeah, strike's good. Got that. Okay. So whenever you start your day, always come in here. I'm gonna delete these alerts from yesterday. Then all you have to do, this is the automation portion if you're on TikTok. If you're wondering, we use our TA, set up our automation of when we want it to take the trades, and that's it, and I just don't touch it. So we do have our call. Now we want a continuation call. If we break above 446, it's going to run. So I would say probably, I'd probably say 446, 75 or so. I'm okay with that. So pretty far away, 440, 75, but we want to get above that resistance. Otherwise, I'd rather just not take it. Remember this one, when I do continuation ones, it's more to protect a put that I'm about to set up. So if we run, right, it's going to be in that put. This will protect it by grabbing that run. Now for the put. So we are already at resistance here. If it stays, if it can't break this on the market, it may collapse down first and then pump up. So I don't want it to be too aggressive because I don't want it to take it right at market. So I'm looking for something that will tell me a little more localized resistance. Yeah, we've been talking about that too. But we scalp in our room, so even when you go up or you go down, there's always bumps. The one thing that is nice about scalping is it doesn't matter if you're going up or down. Most of the time, you're going to always go up, down, up, down, up, down. So our trades don't last very long. We're usually in and out of our trades within like 15, 20 minutes, ideally, sometimes less. But yeah, we've been calling the shorts for a while. So this is a more localized. I'm trying to get something that gives me a little closer. So I'm gonna put let's see, let's try to come from through here. So that would put it somewhere in this range. So if we get up to about 444.50, I think I'll be okay with taking that put scalp. So 444.50. And then again, I'm gonna do 4. And we'll set it. And then our continuation, obviously if we do break through this 440.98, then we're almost guaranteed to follow the 437. So I'm gonna put 440.50 for my continuation. 4. Just change the date. 440. Yeah, 440.50 I think is good. Yep. There we go. So that's the range I'm going to play today, guys. So YouTube, I know you're still up. That's kind of weird. TikTok, I don't know if you guys are still there. Yep, there it goes. Weird. I got like a pop-up that says something went wrong. That's strange. I had to refresh that. So good deal. So that's the range I'm gonna play today, guys. I got the alerts all set up. I'm about 6 minutes past, so I'm gonna end this for the community. We'll see you guys soon in the trading floor. TikTok, if you guys want me to look at something else, I can do it quickly, but I don't have a lot of time. Again, if you're on TikTok and you're watching this, what we're doing is we do this video for our community. You're welcome to check us out, botjok.com, botjok.com, and then I just stream it on TikTok just to kind of show you all what we do. All right.